The applause started before I could finish processing the words. Let's all congratulate our new senior logistics director, Tyler Griggs. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard Julia. My smile froze. My heart kicked. Tyler, the guy who joined in April. The guy I'd spent hours tutoring through inventory systems, like he was still learning how barcodes worked. Around me, people clapped, chairs squeaked. I forced my palms together. Each clap felt like static, sharp, empty. Julia stood confidently at the head of the conference table, her red blazer crisp and posture flawless. Tyler brings a fresh perspective and bold energy, she said, her voice echoing through the high-ceilinged operations center in Tulsa. He's the future of Crestmont Supply. My future. That's what she meant. The one I'd built over 6 years through Blizzard's labor shortages and enough all-nighters to destroy a liver. The one I'd earned through quiet wins and flawless quarterly reports. And then her gaze landed on me. Smile, tight teeth, too white. Let's also thank Dana for mentoring Tyler into this role. Mentoring, not leading, not deserving. Just a footnote in someone else's promotion. Another round of applause erupted. I nodded, lips pressed into something vaguely polite. My jaw ached from restraint. Dana, stay composed. Don't show it. My phone buzzed against the table. A message from my daughter. Did you get it? Mom, the acceptance letter? UCLA. My throat closed. My eyes burned. Across the table, Tyler caught my glance and winked. Not a thank you. Not a nod of respect. Just a smug twitch of the eyelid like we were teammates in some private game. But the joke was me. The conference room smelled of burnt coffee and overworked toner, but all I could taste was steel, cold, sharp, like the edge of something cracking. I wanted to stand, to say something that split Julia's script wide open. But the words stayed buried. So instead, I clapped harder than anyone, louder than I felt. Because sometimes when the ground shifts under your feet, all you can do is make noise until you figure out where to land. You pretend nothing cracked. Not yet. The room emptied slowly, soft scraping chairs, polite chatter filling the void where fairness should have been. They filed out in sequence, one by one, handshakes for Tyler, pats on the back. Couldn't have happened to a better guy, someone murmured like it was scripture. I stayed in my seat. My fingers rested on the edge of my notepad, blank like the promises they'd made me. Dana, could you stick around for a moment? Julia's voice sliced through the small talk, smooth as a silk noose. I nodded, even as something in my chest dropped like iron. Tyler left with that same crooked grin, one that didn't belong to someone who had earned anything. The door shut behind him. Julia loosened the clasp on her necklace, leaned against the edge of the conference table, like we were friends about to share a drink. It's nothing personal, she began, her voice dipped in synthetic empathy. Tyler represents where the company is heading, fast, disruptive digital. You understand. There it was again. The future, always dangled just out of reach. I folded my hands in my lap. If I didn't, she'd see the tremble. You'll still run the day-to-day, she added. Nobody knows operations like you. That's your strength. My strength. As if doing the heavy lifting while someone else claimed the title was a prize. Then she leaned in slightly, voice lowered. Think about Caleb. My head jerked up. Excuse me. He's 16, right? She said softly. College coming up. This job keeps things steady. For him. Walking away now? That's a risk. The air thickened, heavy with everything she didn't need to say aloud. She thought she owned me, that my son's future meant I wouldn't move, wouldn't speak, wouldn't dare. I swallowed hard. My throat felt splintered. Is that all? Julia smiled, cold and practiced. Not quite. She straightened her necklace, smoothing her blazer. Train Tyler well. Stay loyal, and I'll make sure you're rewarded. Later. That word again. Fragile. Empty, like everything they'd promised before. I wondered what would happen if I laughed. Not a soft laugh, but the kind that cuts through glass, hard and splintering. Instead, I said nothing, just stared at the woman who'd taken 6 years of loyalty and turned it into leverage. You're a professional. Dana Julia added, her tone smooth and smug. I know you'll do the right thing. I stood slowly. The legs of my chair scraped against the polished floor. My heart beat so hard I felt it in my fingertips. But my voice stayed calm. The right thing, I said flatly. Got it, Julia. Then I walked out without looking back. My heels echoed against the hallway tile like a slow ticking clock. Each step, the same thought pulsed louder. She thinks I'm trapped. The hallway blurred as I made my way back to my office. Julia's words looped in my mind like a bad jingle. Train him well, and your loyalty will be rewarded. Later. That word again, sour and sharp in my throat. I sank into my chair. My screen blinked awake, bathing the desk in cool light. The spreadsheet was still open, clean, perfect columns. A world I'd built by hand. Quietly. Reliably. Your leadership material, Dana. That's what Julia said the first time. Her voice was warm, reassuring, almost maternal. It was spring 2017. Same conference room. Morning sun casting gold across the table. I remember gripping my leather notebook so tight my knuckles ached. We reward loyalty here, she told me. Big growth ahead for the right people. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. Back then, Caleb was barely 12, still leaving sticky notes on my desk that said, "Love you, Mom." I told myself the late nights were temporary, that the hours I gave Crestmont were an investment for both of us. But those temporary nights became years. I still remember one vividly. The glow of my desk lamp at 11:30 p.m., cold coffee rings on quarterly reports, a message from my sister, a photo Caleb beaming on stage in his band uniform, trumpet in hand. I'd promised Caleb I'd be there for that concert. Instead, I was buried in Julia's email subject line. Urgent. Need forecasts. Tonight. I typed until my wrists ached. Whispered apologies into the empty room like maybe he could hear me across town. Then another memory hit me. Harder. Caleb's 15th birthday. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe because the next chapter is already unfolding and you won't want to miss what Dana does next. I was standing in the reception area of a client site in Oklahoma City, nearly 200 miles away, when my phone buzzed again. A message from Julia. Patience always pays off. Hang in there. It arrived the same moment my sister sent a video of Caleb blowing out birthday candles without me. His smile, bright and trying, stabbed deeper than anything she could have written. I stayed patient. I stayed late. I stayed loyal. I swallowed disappointment every time Julia said, "Not yet, Dana, but soon." But now, sitting under the drone of fluorescent lights, I finally saw the full cost. 6 years of traded memories, burned out weekends, whispered excuses, all for a title that was never meant to be mine. Bitterness settled in my chest, colder than any spreadsheet, sharper than any quarterly deadline. And for the first time in years, I wondered if the woman staring back at me from the reflection in my darkened screen was someone Caleb could still admire. Because the truth had crystallized. Every sacrifice I made was for a promise that never existed. The office was silent as I shut down my monitor. Past 10:45 p.m. The cleaning crew was long gone and the overhead lights had dimmed to their after-hours glow. My shoes echoed softly as I crossed the floor toward the break room for a coffee I didn't even want. Then I heard it. Low. Nearby. Voices bleeding into the hallway like smoke. I froze just short of the glass corridor outside Julia's office. Her door wasn't fully closed. The acoustics in this building carried everything. She's no threat, Julia said, amused. Dana's steady. She needs the paycheck and she's alone. Another voice followed deeper. Likely Martin from corporate. You're sure she won't push back? Julia's reply came with a soft laugh. Not after this long. A soft, dismissive laugh. The kind that scraped across the skin like grit. She won't fight it, Julia said. She can't afford to. Single mom, big bills. She'll keep her head down. My nails dug into my palms until I felt crescents form. Every word twisted deeper than the last. Then came the part that hollowed me. She'll train him better than anyone, Julia added. Her confidence curdled in my stomach. Hell, she'll make him look good doing it. Something inside me cracked. Not with rage. Not loud. Not the kind of break that flips tables or screams in meetings. It was quieter than that. A clean internal snap. Final. Still. For 6 years, I'd carried this company like a second spine. I'd missed school concerts, canceled vacations, watched my son grow up through forwarded photos and late-night FaceTimes because I believed the lie. That loyalty mattered. And now, here was Julia reducing me to a footnote, a tool, a line item on her forecast. I stood there a moment longer, the hallway humming overhead. My pulse throbbed so hard I felt it behind my eyes. But suddenly, everything felt sharper, calmer, focused in a way that almost frightened me. "They think I'm broken," I whispered to no one. My reflection stared back in the glass and shoulders squared, eyes clear. "They're wrong." I turned and walked away. No sound, no farewell. Left Julia to her smug grin and empty promises. Each step back to my desk didn't burn, it solidified. Not fire. Steel. Cold. Quiet. Final. I knew something she didn't. Nothing in this building would ever own me again. Rain tapped the windshield like tapping fingers. I sat in the driver's seat. The dashboard glowed 9:15 p.m. The lot was empty, save for shadows beneath the streetlights. My hands gripped the wheel until my knuckles paled. My phone buzzed. I hesitated, then answered. Steady voice. "Hey, honey. Mom, are you okay?" "You didn't text after your meeting." His voice soft. Concerned. The voice of a boy who'd learned to read silence like a warning light. I stared at the raindrops sliding down the windshield, blurring the world beyond the glass. My throat burned. "I'm fine," I said. I lied. "Did you get it?" His voice cracked a little. And with it, something inside me did too. For a second, I saw his face the day I'd promised him things would get easier. College visits, weekend hikes, promises we never kept. Because I was too busy answering Julia's midnight emails, missing birthdays, missing moments. I swallowed hard, blinking fast. "I'll tell you everything tomorrow, okay?" "Okay. Love you, Mom. Love you, too." When the line went dead, I let the first tear fall. Then another, until the weight of 6 years pressed so heavy it felt like my chest might crack open. And then, just as suddenly, I stopped crying. I opened my laptop on the passenger seat. The screen lit the dark like a blade. My fingers moved on instinct. "Dear Julia, this is my formal notice of resignation effective immediately. I will honor a 2-week transition." I read it twice. No apologies, no explanations, just closure. By the time I slid the printed letter across her desk, it was 4:30 p.m. Friday. She just finished parading Tyler through the operations wing like a golden retriever with a ribbon. "What's this?" she asked, eyes narrowing. Then she read it. Her face flushed, her mouth thinned. "You're walking away from everything." After all we built, I said nothing. "No one hires a quitter, Dana. You realize that, right? You're tanking your career over pride." I met her eyes steady. Calm, maybe, but it's my decision, not yours. For the first time since I met her, Julia had no answer. She just stared, searching for the fear she thought she'd planted in me, but it was gone. I turned and walked out, the echo of my heels sharp and final. Each step was lighter than the last. By Monday, my phone buzzed at 6:00 a.m. I'd already been up for an hour. Sipping coffee in the stillness of my kitchen, I stared at the soft glow of sunrise brushing the countertop. Then my phone buzzed. "Tyler." I picked up. "Dana." "Thank God," he blurted before I could speak. His voice cracked raw and panicked like a kid who'd lost the instructions halfway through a science fair project. "Marbridge Steel is threatening to cancel. Something about titanium bracket delays. They're demanding confirmation by noon. Marbridge, our biggest client. A $2.1 million account I'd managed for 4 years without a single hiccup." "Take a breath," I said, voice steady. "Open the supplier portal. Tell me which vendors flagged." Silence. Then a muttered, "I don't know which one to check. There are like 6 contracts open." He lowered his voice. "Julia thinks I've got it under control." Of course she did. "Okay." I said. Let's walk through it. Carefully. You'll need these steps again. For 3 straight hours, I became a lifeline he didn't deserve but clearly needed. I explained alternate vendors, routing approvals, escalation points, how to renegotiate delivery timelines without violating penalty clauses. My tone never wavered. My instructions clear and deliberate. And as I talked, I typed a separate document my own, a record of every critical process, every shortcut I'd mastered in 6 years. Not for Tyler, for me. By 9:45 a.m., the storm passed. Marbridge confirmed. Shipments rerouted. Tyler exhaled like he'd just dodged disaster. Dana, you're amazing. I don't know how you keep all this in your head. I almost said experience. Instead, documentation helps. Later, when I walked into the office, Julia was holding court by the glass wall. Her voice bright rehearsed. Just a small hiccup with Marbridge, but Tyler handled it like a pro. Her smile was wide, but her eyes flicked toward me for a heartbeat, sharp, uncertain, searching. I smiled politely, slipped past without a word, and sat at my desk to keep writing step-by-step guides, vendor tiers, troubleshooting logic trees. Every piece of my operational playbook laid out in clean, precise order, not because they asked, because I needed it done on my terms. By Friday morning, the file was complete. I hit save, closed the laptop, and exhaled slow and deep. Around me, the office buzzed like always, phones ringing, emails pinging. No one saw the storm building, especially not Julia still parading Tyler like a golden retriever with a badge. But I saw it. And when it broke, I'd be long gone. My resignation letter no longer sat heavy in my bag. Now it felt like armor. 1 week left, and every hour ticked like a quiet countdown. That afternoon, I slipped into a corner booth at a coffee shop near downtown. Steam hissed from the espresso machine. The scent of dark roast and old wood filled the air. Across from me sat Ethan Drayton, CEO of Northwell Distribution Systems, a firm I'd followed for years. Reputation, clean systems, smart culture, zero nonsense. His handshake was firm, his smile curious. 6 years at Crestmont, he said, scrolling through my resume on a sleek tablet. Regional oversight. No title, no credit, impressive. I've managed multi-million-dollar accounts across the Midwest, I replied, steady but not eager. Marbridge Steel, border states, Alton Metals. I know their flow and their friction points. I know what keeps them loyal. Ethan leaned back, slightly studying me, not just as a candidate, but as leverage, as strategy. Then he smiled. We're scaling aggressively into heavy industrial. You've already built the pipelines we need. He tapped the tablet once, then met my eyes. We want you as Regional Operations Director. Salary's 38% higher than your current, plus quarterly incentives. Equities on the table if you grow the sector. I didn't flinch, just let the words land. Calm, solid. My pulse hummed. Not with fear, but with clarity, bright and grounded after months of being treated like background noise. But Ethan wasn't finished. One condition, he said, pausing. Bring your client relationships. We've got the infrastructure, but your network gives us leverage. It wasn't a request. It was alignment. Clear and clean, not unethical. Clients choose who earns their trust. I nodded. They trust me because I deliver. That doesn't change. Ethan's grin widened. Then, almost offhand, he added, word gets around fast in this industry. I heard Julia promoted potential over proven performance. The sentence struck like static in a dry room. But I didn't blink. It's true, I said. He gave a low chuckle, shaking his head. Clients hate instability. You leaving? That sends a message. They'll follow the steady hand, the one who knows the field. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something bloom in my chest. Not rage, not burnout. Possibility. We stood, shook hands. We'll send the formal offer Monday morning, Ethan said. Welcome to your next chapter, Dana. Outside, the late afternoon sun spread gold across the sidewalk, warm on my face. For the first time in years, I didn't feel tethered. I felt unshakable. Julia called me into her office Tuesday afternoon. Her tone wasn't friendly, it was official. I stepped inside. She stood behind her desk, jaw set tight, blazer off sleeves, rolled like she was bracing for a fight. She thought she'd cornered me. Half-drawn blinds sliced the light across the room. "Sit," she said. I didn't. She exhaled slowly, then slid a sheet of paper across the desk. "Interviewing with competitors while you're still employed here?" Her tone icy. "Controlled. That's a violation of your NDA, Dana. Borderline corporate espionage." I met her stare calm. My hands rested at my sides. "It's called weighing options." Her lips curled. "You think Northwell will protect you? That you're irreplaceable?" She stepped closer, voice low, patronizing. "Let's be real." His words landed like blows. "Women like you hit a ceiling after 40. Tyler's the future." The air in the office thickened, every molecule vibrating with heat. For a moment, I felt the rage clawing up my spine, begging to ignite. But instead of shouting, I smiled. "Barely. Is that so?" My voice was soft, gentle even, the kind of quiet that makes people lean in right before the blade slips in. Julia smirked, mistaking my calm for surrender. "You're good at what you do, Dana. No one's denying that. But you're finished here." She crossed her arms. "And if you think you're walking away with my clients—" "Your clients," I cut her off, voice cool and steady. "Those relationships exist because I built them. Not Cressmont, not you." Her expression shifted, tightened. "Don't play games with me. You try to take them, I'll bury you in litigation." That's when I leaned forward, measured, controlled. "Then show me the non-compete I signed." The room went thick and still, like someone had vacuumed out the oxygen. Julia blinked, her mouth opened, then closed, and I watched as realization swept across her face, hot, then cold, settling like a stone in her gut. I stood up slowly, brushing the cuff of my blouse. "Didn't think so." Her jaw flexed, teeth clenching, but no sound came. I turned toward the door. My heels echoed like a verdict on the polished floor. Before I stepped out, I looked back. "You wanted loyalty, Julia. You confused it with fear." The blinds trembled slightly as the door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time, she understood. I wasn't leaving quietly. Friday arrived without celebration. No balloons, no cake, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the steady tap of keyboards. My last day at Crestmont felt surreal, like a final scene where the woman walks calmly out of a building she set ablaze. I came in early, before most arrived, and began packing my things in silence. A framed photo of Caleb rested at the top. The ceramic mug Caleb gave me for Mother's Day. The leather-bound notebook filled with 6 years of workflows, vendor strategies, and project notes, most of which Julia never even looked at. Each item slid into the box with the weight of a sealed chapter. By 8:50 a.m., the office was fully awake, phones buzzing, printers humming. But the air had shifted. Whispers followed me down the hall like perfume. Quick smiles, too bright. "Good luck, Dana. We'll miss you around here." Polite, uncertain. Everyone knew what I knew: Crestmont was splintering. And cracks make noise. Julia called me in one last time. She stood behind her desk back, rigid arms crossed. Her smile was tight, more tension than warmth. "So she said, last day." "That's right." Her eyes were glassy, lips thin. Something between control and desperation lingered in her tone. "You think Northwell will hand you the keys? You're just another name in their machine. They'll burn you out faster than I ever could." I didn't answer. Silence swelled between us, pressing like weight against the windows. Then I smiled. A soft, measured curve. "Good luck, Julia." Her jaw flexed once, but I was already gone. Back at my desk, I opened my laptop one final time, typed a short farewell note, subject transition notes, body team. "It's been a privilege working with you. You're in steady hands. Liam will do just fine. Warmly, Dana." I hit send. Watched the message disappear like a feather in the wind light, but barbed. Closing the lid felt like exhaling after holding my breath for 6 years. I set my badge on the desk. It landed with a soft clink. Final. Like a gavel. I lifted the box and walked to the elevator. Each step felt lighter. as if the ground itself was lifting with me. By the time the door slid shut, Julia hadn't reappeared. Good. This wasn't about confrontation anymore. It was about peace, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I was finally free. And the quiet satisfaction of knowing the storm was already brewing. My phone buzzed, just as the elevator reached the ground floor. A new email. From Janet Holloway. Subject: Ironcrest transition. Janet, head of procurement at Marbridge Steel. I opened it. If Tyler's in charge, we walk. That single sentence made my pulse tick upward. Slowly. The corners of my mouth curled into something sharp. I hadn't needed revenge. Just the truth laid bare. Because I didn't light the match. I just left it on the table. And Julia, she built the whole damn company out of paper. As I stepped into the morning sunlight, the weight slipped from my shoulders completely. The air smelled like rain and clean pavement. For the first time in years, I wasn't tethered to someone else's ego. I was walking into my own future. And Crestmont. They were walking straight into collapse. 6 months later. I sat in my office on the 22nd floor of Northwell's new regional HQ. The skyline shimmered glass and steel, catching fire in the golden light. My calendar pinged quarterly strategy call in 20 minutes. I snoozed it. For once, there was no rush. A business magazine lay open on my desk. Its glossy cover practically shouted, "Crestmont loses 60% of revenue amid leadership scandal. CEO ousted." I read the lead paragraph again, letting each word settle like a slow sip of wine. Julia Reese, terminated. Tyler Maher, resigned after 3 months back in grad school at Oklahoma State. The board launched an internal investigation after multiple clients, including Marbridge, walked. Breach of contract, financial penalties, lawsuits, and just like that, the empire she clung to collapsed under its own ego. I traced the page's edge, not with spite, but something softer. Closure. No gloating. No fanfare. Just the deep calm that comes from knowing you were right to walk. My phone buzzed. From Caleb, dinner tonight, you pick. I smiled. He was taller now, his voice deeper. And I was finally where I belonged. But he still cared about Friday night dinners, and for the first time in years, I no longer had to answer him with maybe next time. I closed the magazine, slid it into the drawer, and grabbed my coat. The cafe on Archer and Fifth was quiet when I walked in one of those warm spaces that smelled like roasted beans and second chances. And there, tucked at a corner table, sat Tyler. He looked older now. Not worn, but aware. That eager glow had dimmed into something more grounded. A textbook sat open in front of him. Logistics optimization. Dana, he said, rising to greet me. Thanks for meeting me. I sat across from him. The soft hum of the espresso machine filled the space between words. I wanted to say, "Thank you," he said finally, "for not letting me drown. You could have walked, but you didn't. You helped, even when I didn't deserve it." I offered a small smile. You weren't the problem, Tyler. You were thrown into something unearned. That's not your fault. His eyes met mine. Steady. But you earned it. And I didn't. I know that now. Silence settled between us like shared truth. I slid a 5 across the table for his coffee. You'll be fine, I said. This time, you're learning it the right way. Outside, the evening air was crisp. The city pulsed with energy. Northwell's growth had exceeded projections, 3 new states, a major logistics merger on the horizon. My name sat on the masthead now. Dana Keller, Regional Operations Director. And tonight, I'd have dinner with Caleb. No laptop, no guilt. Sometimes the loudest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's peace. It's walking away from people who dismissed you and building something better. Your value isn't defined by their ceiling. It's defined by what you do when they count you out. Sometimes the quietest move speaks the loudest. I didn't burn the place down. I didn't yell slam doors or send dramatic emails. I just walked away quietly, clearly, and with purpose. And that choice changed everything. If you've ever stayed late, given more than you had trained someone who got promoted over you, or been told you're not the future, then I hope my story felt like a mirror. because I see you. This wasn't just about me. It was about reclaiming something many of us surrender without even realizing it. Our permission to choose peace over proving ourselves. So now, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment for me, not just as Dana, the Regional Operations Director, but as someone who knows what it feels like to be dismissed, underestimated, or quietly erased. Did this story remind you of a moment when you realized your value didn't depend on their approval? Have you ever walked away from something that no longer served you? What did you learn? Let's talk about it, because your story matters just as much as mine. And if this hit home, if you've been silently navigating your own version of Crest Month, support this video. Hit the like button, share it with someone who needs that quiet nudge. And most of all, subscribe. Not just for more stories like this, but because every time you do, you're saying that dignity, growth, and quiet strength deserve the spotlight too. Because sometimes the strongest move isn't revenge. It's rising. It's choosing yourself even when they don't. And I'm here to remind you, it's never too late to bet on you. Thanks for being here. I read every single comment. Let's build something stronger together.